Good day everyone, I'm a person with an unblocked memory and the abilities of a clairvoyant soul say, and that allows me to share my knowledge with you here, see in my personal blog about self-development. Awakening and the transformation of the soul and consciousness is also join in Z, and don't miss your chance to find like-minded people and become the best version of yourself. I would like to talk to you about what can make our children and also you and me yesterday get sick due because autumn is the season when we hear the most coughing complaints from people around us. I decided to raise this. I often come across this topics problem in kindergartens, topics of in kindergartens. At school with kids, with relatives, and with friends, and these endless illnesses seem to appear precisely during the cold months. So, to all caring parents, thin, and to anyone who cares about themselves, please listen and watch until the end. And for everyone who suffers from this problem, it will be especially important. But even for those who don't particularly get sick during these seasons, it's still worth understanding and knowing how these mechanisms work be so that you can avoid them in your daily life. I'd like to begin by saying frequent colds are not just random seasonal whims, they're not simply the virus season we're used to hearing about as though it's an unstoppable force attacking us. We're used to thinking we can only buy tons of pills and just wait to get better. But everything that happens in these so-called cold seasons is actually an invisible disaster, something few people consider and barely anyone even notices, because society accepts this problem as some sort of norm. Of course, this norm is very convenient for those in power, pharmaceutical companies that so much from selling pills. But it's never in our favor as the ones who bring money to the pharmacy and get sick so that farm companies can get. I'm not saying that just for effect, but truly sickness as a norm is socially ingrained. Yes, seasonal colds are portrayed that way in order to bring in profit. Plain and simple. That's why I call it an invisible disaster. You might be surprised. I'll say a trick we can choose not to get sick. That cold season is basically the same as the summer season or any other. We can avoid it if we don't choose it ourselves. A lot of you might think that sounds like nonsense right now. A foresee, oh, how could I want to get sick? That's ridiculous. It's practically impossible. But hold on before you draw conclusions, because I'll explain how all these patterns work. In reality, we don't realize how we, with our own attitude toward certain phenomena in life, often cause irreparable harm, not only to ourselves, but also to our children, to those around us, and so on. And it all operates slowly, subtly. For example, we often repeat certain phrases like mantras without thinking. Don't eat ice cream or you'll get sick. 4. Oh, someone sneezed. Now we'll be stuck at home 2 weeks because it's contagious. See, someone came to work sick, so half the department will go on sick leave. We're supposed to least thoughts that they feel like dogma, something unavoidable feel we treat them as inevitable. Many parents say, my child is always sick, he has a weak immune system. And we never think that these words themselves can make our body get sick even if there's no real cause for illness. And not only can we make ourselves sick with such phrases, but we implant that same negative message about illness in our children, grandchildren, loved ones each shaping these negative attitudes in everyone around us. Those attitudes affect our subtle bodies and impact events in our lives negatively. So, in plain language, all these norms, stereotypes, hammered into our heads practically from birth are actually powerful programming. We program ourselves to get sick. This is a kind of mental smoke that leads to real consequences. Whenever we see a certain situation, we react by default according to these ingrained patterns in our heads, and that in turn projects onto our health, our children's health, our coworkers, our loved ones, because we literally tell them, if this or that happened, if you sneezed, you're definitely going to get sick now, and of course they believe it. Many people don't want to acknowledge that our statements and behavior can make us and others sick. But let me give you one example from my own life, showing how, in many cases, illnesses arise from outside provocation. So for instance, I'll share a story from my family from my younger brother. When he was a kid, always under the watchful eye of parents and grandparents, he was basically drowned in all sorts of pills with the constant refrain that now he'd get sick, that he'd have to start antibiotics, that he'd miss school, and so forth. They said all the typical lines: "You might get sick," "You'll definitely get sick," "You're going to get sick again." Even if he hadn't sneezed once, they'd tell him, "You just rolled in the snow. You're going to get sick." And so sure enough, he was constantly sick. The child even had breakdowns, begging them to stop saying that. He couldn't understand what was happening inside him. Eventually, maybe because of something I said, "You don't have to get sick, just stop taking in all that talk, and then you won't get sick," he started noticing that the moment he stopped taking those words to heart, he was sick a lot less. He himself noticed that if he got a runny nose but nobody spotted, in a day or two the whole thing would disappear. But if family members saw him sneezing, they'd pile on him. "Oh, you'll get sick now. Terrible things will happen." And he'd end up on antibiotics for 2 weeks. A 2-year-old child saw that pattern. He even began deliberately hiding if he had the sniffles or a slight cough, just so they wouldn't trigger his sickness. He realized all these processes happen in our heads. I also came to understand it for myself early on, somewhere around age 20, when I noticed how my internal states affected whether I got sick. I wrote it in a diary at the time. If I was down, anxious, in a negative place, I'd get sick. It was as though the body expressed negativity through illness, and vice versa. If I was joyful, the illness cleared up fast. I saw how psychosomatics work even if I didn't have that word for it. For example, if I wanted an unplanned day off from work, I'd sometimes start wishing for a mild cold so I could stay home. I saw how this was directly interconnected. Probably in 2020, I fully solidified this understanding. Something clicked, like I still remember standing in the hallway thinking, "I simply can't get sick unless I make myself sick." I'd already seen how people attract illness to themselves, but that day it became utterly clear. All these seasonal causes, spring, autumn, you name it, were a big soap bubble, and I realized I could choose not to project it onto myself, onto my kids, or onto my husband. When I told him about it, he was skeptical at first because he was used to the idea of viruses, etc. But I said, "Let's try." Why not? Once he too saw the connection. When we don't label the children's sneezes as a short trip to antibiotics, they stopped getting sick the way they used to. In kindergarten, everyone would come down with something in waves, but our kid would stay healthy. Sometimes the whole group was out sick except him and one other child. And that repeated over and over. Relatives who were used to projecting this talk about illness onto us kept saying, "He ate ice cream, so now his throat's going to hurt." The kids heard it. We tried to resist telling them, "Stop projecting this onto us." Yet every time they said such things, eventually the child really got sick. It became shocking for us. My husband noticed that even when the kids didn't hear them, if those relatives called and asked, are the kids sick yet?" So as soon as they asked that, the kids would actually come down with something. We clearly saw the pattern, and we were stunned. My husband reached a point where he'd flat out say, "No, our kids aren't sick," just to shut down that scenario. By now, after 4 years, since 2020, I understand the big picture of how all this works. When you see it, you'll see it's pretty straightforward to defend yourself fake, because you realize so much about it. If you'd like to dive deeper, we discussed these issues on the Solar Club. The topic was psychosomatics, though really from my stories here you see it's more than just psychology there's an isn't it esoteric, invisible aspect at work? Because if a child never hears, "Eat ice cream and get sick," but we still get calls from relatives with, "So, are the kids sick yet?" That's an energetic message, a negative intention. They project that image onto a Z and it inserts itself into our reality. Maybe that sounds complex, but trust me, once you really explore these phenomena, you'll be amazed. So if you're curious to explore not just codes, but also more serious problems stemming from self-suggestion, or if you want to hear about proven psychosomatic connections that can sometimes have fatal outcomes, Zui talked about that on a live stream, and we didn't have enough time in 2 hours to finish. Therefore, on Sunday, November 5th at 11:30 OJ and Moscow time, you can join our next live stream on Psychosomatics, being in the Solar Club. There's a link in the description. I'll be answering participants' questions, going through personal stories and cases. That way we can fill in any gaps. Let's continue now. So how do we change the situation? First, we need personal boundaries. Also, it's crucial to explain to our children who are small and learning the rules of this world that they don't have to get sick just because the kindergarten teacher says everyone's going to be sick now, it's that season. This happens in schools, in kindergartens, etc. They can literally influence your child with this intention. So you have a 90% chance of them coming home with a runny nose unless you set boundaries. When my child was the only one left in class not out sick, I was actively removing the teacher's negative emotional messages. I'd basically declare, oh, their parents can do what they want, but my child does not accept this programming. Secondly, it's essential to monitor your own words, to stop using these tired expressions. Catch yourself and stop thinking them subconsciously, because our thoughts are material. The moment we say, the kids always get sick, we send out that message Siri, and kids often fulfill it. We need to watch our thoughts and free ourselves from the old, high-industrial illusions. Show confidence in your own health and your child's health, remembering that you really do manage your body's well-being and decide if you'll catch a virus or not. Avoid phrases like, if you eat ice cream, you'll be sick at home, because the child might literally imagine himself with a sore throat and runny nose launching that intention. Instead, rephrase ice cream is tasty, see it can be safe if we enjoy it in moderation. If you do everything correctly, you stay healthy. Actually, that's how it is with many things in life. Too much of anything can be harmful, even water in extreme volumes. So, find that golden mean. It's not just about ice cream, it's about liquids or nicotine or anything else. We need a sense of balance. Always remember that any negative thoughts you send out in words can also fly into the world as an intention. It can harm you and your loved ones, literally making them sick or creating unpleasant situations. You don't want that. Keep in mind that you alone benefit from your health and that of your children. Don't give in to negative programming. That if you'd like to master managing your reality, your health included, and learn how to project good events so they actually manifest, settle, maybe you want to stop getting sick endlessly and take a much needed vacation, or buy something you've wanted for ages, or pursue your dream goals without slogging through a hated job or forcing yourself for things to go smoothly and almost magically. See, then the full set of instructions for using intention is in my course Foundations of Reality Management. This course has helped tons of people bring the events they've dreamed of into their lives. More than 1,000 folks have changed their lives for the better, and you can read their reviews on my website. By the way, I have a very cool website, luckywaterflow.net, made with interactive panels by magical persons. My own intention manifested as this website I dreamt about for so long, so hop on over there. Also, from November 10th to 20th, I'm offering a special discount on both of my courses, and not just Foundations of Reality Management, but also the legendary turnkey course that a lot of people already know about. This legendary course has been around for quite a while, and participants are always thrilled with it. It reveals the cause and effect relationships behind many aspects of life, it exposes all kinds of hidden beliefs, including the kind of stereotypical thinking I've talked about. It explains why we fight with ones, how to set personal boundaries, and so on. Some participants snapped out of addictions overnight thanks to it. They were amazed. The course also unveils a lot so-called esoteric phenomena around us that might look light, but in fact aren't. I delve into all of that thoroughly, without censorship. how everything truly works. If you want to understand how life and the world function, that course will suit you. Or from November 10th to 14th, there'll be a 50% discount, and from the 15th to the 20th, 10%. Don't miss your chance to step toward your own dreams and make them happen. The course link is in the description below. You'll see it on screen as well. Start your journey to new opportunities today. See, never postpone your life until tomorrow. Finally, I wish you all robust health. Be healthy, don't submit to negative programs, don't create illnesses for yourselves. And remember, only we control our reality, and our health we can also help shape our children's health with those personal boundaries and so forth. Alright? I hug you all. Z, love you. I wish you productive work on yourself. I hope the practices I give on my channel will help you the way they helped once helped me. Everyone, thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe and share my channel. Become a member of my Telegram channel and discuss with like-minded people as a supporting club member.